Hello everyone, I am Dr. Namrata Dhanda. I am here to present before you a lecture series on this well known subject of computer science and engineering, that is automata theory, or which is also referred to as the theory of computation. Right? It is a subject of quite a horror for the students. So from many days I had been thinking of making a short videos on it, so as to make you understand the concept very easily, so that you are not afraid of it and you score good marks in your exams. So I'll be making short videos for you so that you can concentrate on the concept for a short period of time and understand it easily, right? So we start with the basic meaning, or from where is this term automata theory come from. So the word automata is basically derived from the word automatic, right? So there are many real life examples of automatic machines which you use in your daily lives. For example, you have a automatic washing machine, you have ATM machine, then you have automatic ACs which are available now, and a lot many number of devices which in which you just have to supply the input and you get output. This is what is meant by the term automatic, that we are giving it a certain input and we are expecting a certain output out of it. For example, if I talk about the washing machine, the input will be in the form of the clothes, the washing powder and the water, etc., and the output that is expected is the dried up clothes, right? So now if I translate the same definition in terms of computer science and engineering, you all must be knowing the meaning of the term compiler or the interpreter, which is frequently used, right? You all know the meaning of, there's lot of noise in my area, so please bear with it. You all know the meaning of the term compiler or interpreter. So the compiler or interpreter basically is used to convert a high level language program into a low level language program, that, or you can say a machine level language program, which can be easily executed or which can be understood by the machine, right? So for different languages we have different compilers. For C, you have a C compiler, you can write your program in Java and compile it, you can write a program in Python, you can compile it. So there are various for different languages we have different compilers, and we just input our high level language program and we get a low level language program or a machine level language program, right? Now why do we have different compilers for the different language? Why not a single compiler which can compile each high level language? Why? Because the syntax of each language is different. The syntax of each language is different. So there are different rules that are accepted by the C language, different rules for writing a Java program, different rules for writing a Python program. So that is why for different, in order to recognize different kind of languages, we have different compilers for the different languages. Now there are many processes which take place, intermediate processes which take place when we compile a program, but the user, or you might not be knowing, if you have not studied compiler design till now, you must not be knowing that what are the various phases that a program goes through before being converted into a machine level language program. So I will not go into the details of all the steps of compilation, but I will just list down those steps. The first one is called as the lexical analysis, right? After that you have the syntax analysis, then you have the semantic analysis, then you have the intermediate code generation, then you have the code optimization phase, which reduces the size of your program so that the program takes lesser amount of time to execute. Alright, and lastly you get your machine level language program, right? So these are the various phases which a program undergoes before giving you this particular output. But we as a user are not concerned with the fact that how this lexical analysis perform, how semantic analysis, and how these steps are being performed, right? So what we do is basically we are basically concerned with the input and we are concerned with the output. So here, because this is a tutorial, or you can say a lecture series on automata, so I will not go into the detail of this compiler construction. These steps individually will be, you will study when you study this compiler construction. Here we will be developing small machines in order to recognize certain languages, right? And this is where the concept of automata comes into existence. So automata theory basically deals with the design of machines for accepting particular kind of languages. All right, I hope you understand the meaning of automata now, and why do we study automata, what is the necessity of studying automata. So now we come to the general model of automata. What is the general model of automata, right? So the general model of automata, basically you have five components which can be represented like this, right? Supposing this is your finite automata, you have inputs. You can have one input or any number of inputs, which I am labeling as I1, I2, so on till IM. Then you have outputs O1, O2, so on till ON. So you are providing certain inputs, you are expecting certain outputs. Then, so the first component becomes the input, which could be anything. Then the second is the output. Third component is the states in which your machine or automata will be at any instant of time. For example, we generally label the states as q0, small q0, q1, q2, so on till any number of states, say qr. So your machine could be in any of the states, any of these states at any instant of time. Initially it is in some state which we refer to as the initial state, and we generally call it as q0. Alright. Then the next thing that you have is referred to as the state relation, right? The next thing is referred to as the state relation. State relation means that how do you determine the next state of your automata. It basically depends upon your current state in which you are in and what input you are providing. So this is defined by a state relation. So this is the fourth component, and the fifth component that you have is referred to as the output relation. So machines which provide certain output, which provide certain output, like Milli and Moore machine, which we'll be studying in detail later, right? So they will be providing a certain output. Now this output could be based only on the state, which state you are in. That if you are in state q0, you will get this output. You are in state q1, you will get this output. So the output relation may be dependent only on the state, or it may depend upon the state and the input. If on state q0 you are giving the input A, you will be getting 0 as the output. If in state q0 you are giving input B, you are getting 1 as the output. So output could depend on state, or it could depend upon the state and the input, and accordingly, according to this difference, we have different type of finite automata with output, right? So this is the general model of automata, which you must know in order, and these terms you must know in order to be clear with the concepts of automata theory. Now I will just correlate this entire thing by means of a simple example. All of you must have played this game of snakes and ladder, right? All of you must have played this game, right? So there are blocks over here. This you start from 1. So this 1 is referred to here as the initial state, right? And you win if you reach this 100. 100 is referred to therefore as the final state, right? So, and what is the input here? Input here could be 1 2 3 4 5 or 6, that is the number that you have on the dice. So supposing I am in state 1, I give the input as 5. So which state I will be going to? I will be going to 6. So this is my next state, which depends upon the current state and the input. On 6, if I give 2, I will be reaching to state 8, right? So like this, if I reach this 100, then I win, otherwise I lose. Otherwise I lose, right? So in every machine you will have some initial state. You will have only one initial state. To be very specific, you will have only one initial state if we are talking about finite automata. You can have one or more than one final state. Then you have input, which here is in the form of the number that is coming on the dice, and which determines the next state, right? So this is how you can correlate the general model of automata with this particular game, and it will make it easier for you to remember the concept. Now, since this is my first session with you, I just don't want to go into much details. I want to make my lectures interesting so that they are short and sweet, so that you are able to listen to them just by setting or lying down anywhere, and you are able to understand it easily. Otherwise, if they are long enough, you'll get bored. So I won't lengthen my lecture, but in the next lecture tomorrow, I wish to elaborate on finite automata and the different types of finite automata. And before that, I will give you a brief introduction to the general terms which will be used in defining the finite automata. Alright, I hope you have gained or you have understood what I tried to make you understand, right? And thank you very much. If you like it, kindly subscribe to my channel. Happy learning to all of you. See you tomorrow with a new lecture. Okay.